The problem with bookkeepers and accountants if you're a tradie. Now, this is not a diss video. I don't hate bookkeepers and accountants. I think they have an important and necessary role. Okay. However, there is a problem. If you're a tradie or a builder, or if you run a trade or a building business, and if you don't, I don't know why you would be watching my video. But if you do, or you are, then there's a high chance that your bookkeeper and your accountant are the main people you go to for money advice. Who else is there after all? Obviously there's business coaches, but if you don't have a business coach currently, they're probably your main advisors when it comes to money, and that's where the problem is. The problem is that they're not very good at everything money. They're good at some specific things. Both accountants and bookkeepers are specialists. Accountants are specialist tax and business structure advisors, and bookkeepers are specialist bookkeeping service providers. So they have quite a limited and narrow focus. They both have this kind of compliance focus, and they both tend to come at the world with a sort of a scarcity perspective, a save you money perspective, okay? Which is fine, unless that's the only advice you're getting. So your bookkeeper will do your books, will do your accounting, make sure you're on time, you get your GST statements, your BASs in on time, you pay the least amount of GST or the correct amount of GST, and that you comply with the rules, right? And your accountant will make sure you've got the right business structure to protect your house and will help you legally minimize your tax. They don't give you broader business advice, broader business financial advice. That's not their job. Those are good things. Saving money on your tax, doing your tax, paying as little as possible, doing your books. Both are important things, but both your bookkeeper and your accountant will probably be happy to suggest that they're your main money advisor, but then only do their specialization. You need to think more broadly about money than those two will help you. You're a business owner now. You run a business. Money for you is about much more than tax and GST. And that's where the problem comes, right? Because if you're not careful, you'll get your money advice from that perspective rather than from a business perspective. You want to understand your money, right? You want accurate and up-to-date books so that you can look in them and know that it's correct, that it's current, and understand your profitability of your business, right? In kind of real time, or as close to real time as you can, right? You want to be able to look in there. When I say how's the money, you want to be able to look in your books, your Xero or your MyOb or your QuickBooks, and know. If you're not careful, you won't be able to. Right? You need to know what your gross margins are for the business and for the jobs you're doing. You want to know, if you tell me you quote jobs at 30% gross margin, we want to see it. We want to be able to go, are you getting your 30? You need to know all the bills are in there, up to date. You need to be confident that your bills in your Xero or your accounting system up to date, reconciled correctly, in the right places, where they should be, don't you? You need to satisfy yourself that your pricing's right, that it's correct, that you really are making the margins you think you ought to be making. You need to satisfy yourself that when you're doing the work, you're maintaining those margins, you know? Now you want advice based on your goals for your business, which might involve investing in marketing or growing. It might involve hiring more people. You want to think about business, not just about the kind of restrictive part of tax and bookkeeping. You want advice based around your goals, not just around whether it reduces your tax or not. Now these guys, bookkeepers and accountants, generally don't think like this. They generally don't think about margins and marketing and growth and investing. They generally think about saving and reducing. So if you only get your advice from them, you're only getting part of the advice that you need. And you're going to get a limited perspective. And you won't get the perspective of this other stuff that you really need to be thinking about. Like I said, you're a business owner now, you're running a business. You need to make decisions about what you do in your business based on a broader understanding of the numbers and the money of your business. That's your job now. You need to lead your bookkeeper and your accountant. They're important, they're part of your team, but now you're the business owner, you need to lead them rather than letting them lead you. Okay, you need to tell them what you want from them, you need to tell them how you want your books set up, and you need to make these decisions about your money and decisions about understanding your money for yourself and get them to help you. And if that doesn't make sense, I'm sorry, because I got a little bit tangled. You need to tell your bookkeeper how you want your books set up, how you want your Xero or your MyOb set up. You want labour and materials as costs of sales, not down under WIFA wages in the overheads. You want waste removal and equipment hire and things as cost of sales, like you have in your quotes. And then we can look in Xero and see if your margins are where you think they should be. For example, that's one of them. I've made a guide for how to set this up and a guide for how you can instruct your bookkeeper on how you want to be, how you want your books set up and how you want your relationship with them set up. So grab that if you want that, take it to your bookkeeper. If your bookkeeper doesn't want to pay, come and talk to me and I'll refer you to Michelle. She does that properly. Okay, what you don't want is a bookkeeper who batches your stuff once a month because it's convenient and they don't see a need for it to be done more than once a month, right? You want it done at least once a week. And you don't want an accountant who says, it's all right, I can do your GST once a quarter from the transactions in your bank account. Someone actually said that to one of my clients, a real accountant. You don't need to be guessing your profitability. You need to know it. You're a business owner now. That's your job. And if you want help to be a better business owner, if you want help to understand your numbers, get in touch. I can help you.